Welcome back to Hey Kentucky. We are anxiously awaiting the start of the football season for at least 3 conferences, one of them being the SEC and, of course, Kentucky. Almost no site has given the Cats more love than Pro Football Focus, and I want to welcome in Brent Rollins to talk a little bit more about that. Hey, Brent, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
What do you tell people who say who are sleeping on Kentucky right now?
Don't. That you shouldn't. Now, I will say, I think when you look at the totality of their team in terms of what they bring back, we just released, I think this morning, we just released our preseason all-conference teams. And there were 10 Wildcats on our all-conference teams, whether it be first team, second team, third team, that sort of thing within the SEC. But what they're missing and what the unknown is what they're going to get from the quarterback position. So I think when you sort of balance the really good roster top to bottom with the lack of known at the most important position, that's possibly what leads to a little bit of the sleeping narrative. But from a roster standpoint, theirs is just as good as about any in the SEC.
So when you look around the SEC, guys with high grades that are returning, Kentucky is right there numbers-wise with the likes of Alabama. Talk about the strength of Kentucky's both defensive line and secondary coming into the season.
Along the defensive line, there's a lot of depth, especially in the interior, and then also you have Boogie Watson who's a first-team edge defender for us from a preseason standpoint, and one of the most productive pass rushers. Now he actually does a lot of coverage roles as well as a pass rushing, but when he's been asked to rush the passer, he's been as productive as any edge defender in the Power 5. The secondary part is very intriguing because to survive in today's football, you have to be able to both throw the ball and then also defend the throwing game. The passing game is king among all, and especially in terms of value and what leads to winning. And when you have a returning secondary and you have one of the better safety tandems coming back with Corcoran and Mosley, and then you have Brandon Eccles on the outside, who last season allowed, I think, 47% completion into his coverage. His 11 pass breakups were, I think, third in the SEC. So you have high-level secondary players. It's going to give you a chance week in and week out.
That was a real deficiency on the team before Stoops got here. And then that's kind of, defensive backs and the secondary is really kind of his specialty. And now we're finally there where it's, as good as any of the rest in the league. I do want to ask you also about the offensive line, because Lynn Bowden last year at quarterback, running back, whatever he played, he ran for 1 billion yards behind the big blue wall, we like to call it. And the big blue wall returns and adds Landon Young back after an injury year.
Now, I will say there were some scheme things that helped their offensive line a season ago, but overall, just in terms of the run blocking, especially with Kennard on the right side, and then still pass blocking, their grade dropped when you look at true pass sets, when you remove things like RPOs or play action, but it's still a high-level performing offensive line and going to be competing to be one of the best in the nation.
All right, Brent Rollins with Pro Football Focus. Follow him on Twitter. Thanks so much. We appreciate it. Much more Hey Kentucky right after this.